Our Law and Justice segment tonight. New reports that Donald Trump Jr. communicated with WikiLeaks via Twitter direct message during the presidential campaign. The messages are short, with a pattern of WikiLeaks requesting something and then Donald Trump Jr. being mostly dismissive. Democrats are, of course, continuing their assault on the Trump administration by claiming this proves collusion between Trump and Russia. But is this really the smoking gun Democrats want it to be? With me now, former Pentagon spokesperson J.D. Gordon. J.D., good to see you.
Great to see you, Liz.
All right, J.D., I want to talk about two stories, Don Jr. and WikiLeaks, and then Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Let's start with the WikiLeaks direct messages. I want to put these up on the screen. Don Jr. released these on Twitter himself after these allegations came out. J.D., is there a smoking gun in these Twitter messages somewhere that I don't see?
No, not at all. And you know what? Don Jr. was not on the ballot last time I checked. Carter Page was not on the ballot. George Papadopoulos was not on the ballot. Who was on the ballot? Hillary Clinton. And she was actually engaged in illegal behavior. She had a private server at her home when she was Secretary of State. She had thousands of classified emails passing through it. So Hillary Clinton is the one who committed illegal acts, not any of these guys.
No, and I also want to say, I think Don Jr. should have reported this. I don't think this was a wise move necessarily for him to respond to WikiLeaks, since WikiLeaks has released information that has been damaging to our national security. I'm not saying this is a smart thing to do, but there's a difference between doing something that may have been naive or even dumb versus doing something illegal or doing something that constitutes collusion with the Russians. I don't see this. These are the different things, and I want to go through his different responses here just to clear up this Democratic talking point. So the first message from WikiLeaks to Don Jr. was basically saying that WikiLeaks had guessed the password to an anti-Trump website, or the website of an anti-Trump super PAC. Don Jr.'s response, JD, unless I'm interpreting this differently, was quite dismissive. He didn't seem like he cared.
Yeah, I don't think he cared. The other thing that people really should realize about this is I think this is payback for what happened to Bill Clinton in the 1990s. He was investigated for Whitewater, which was a real estate deal in Arkansas, which ended up having him impeached by the House of Representatives for lying to the grand jury about Monica Lewinsky. It had nothing to do with Arkansas real estate. What I think the Democrats are trying to do now, and also never Trump Republicans, and also a lot of people in the media, they are trying to remove President Trump from office and character assassinate everyone around him for anything they can get. So I think it's shameful, and I think this is really a high-tech coup in progress.
Right. Well, it's also a very, very it's very thin ice to be walking on to think that you could remove a president of the United States from office because his son said, off the record, I'll look into it. Thanks. I don't know what part of that could possibly constitute collusion. He literally was being dismissive when WikiLeaks was being needy. WikiLeaks went on. They always were asking for something. This wasn't about Trump. It was something they wanted in return. It was WikiLeaks that was offering to collude. And to Donald Trump Jr.'s credit, he was the one that didn't respond to them over and over. They sent him an article about Hillary Clinton and Assange, and Trump said, oh, yeah, we already covered that. Thanks anyway. They offered to leak Trump's tax returns, acting like it was an altruistic move on their part versus something that would help the Trump campaign versus they just wanted the big scoop on it. Don Jr. didn't even respond to that one. And then they encouraged Don to encourage his father not to accept the loss if Trump lost the election, but to challenge it, and they would help him. No response to that either.
Liz, this is all just silliness. This is cooked up by the Democrats to try to hurt President Trump and hurt everybody around him, including me. I was the national security advisor on the campaign, the only full-time national security advisor on the campaign. I worked about 100 hours a week. I just had a column in USA Today this week where I talked about the Trump campaign being so disorganized to collude. We couldn't even collude amongst ourselves. So a lot of the media are trying to portray this, and the Democrats in Congress are trying to portray this as something like All the President's Men and some nefarious plot with the Russians. It was really more like the film Burn After Reading, a comedy of errors, and the Democrats are just going after everybody they can and embellishing to high heaven. There's a bunch of Joe McCarthys running around in Congress right now. Guess what? Joe McCarthy in the 1950s was eventually censured by the Senate, and he drank himself to death when he was 48. I think we're going to see repeats of that in Washington.
Well, the drama is certainly of equal proportion, it seems like. JD, let me ask you about this. So you and I talked a couple of weeks ago about, you gave us a minute-by-minute play of that infamous National Security Advisory meeting where George Papadopoulos offered to the group to facilitate a meeting between President Trump and Vladimir Putin. You said that Attorney General Jeff Sessions shut him down. Then later on at a breakfast, you shut him down when Papadopoulos offered again. Attorney General Sessions was asked about this very meeting in Congress this week. This is what he responded.
No recollection of this meeting until I saw these news reports. I do now recall that the March 2016 meeting at the Trump Hotel that Mr. Papadopoulos attended, but I have no clear recollection of the details of what he said at that meeting. After reading his account and to the best of my recollection, I believe that I wanted to make clear to him that he was not authorized to represent the campaign with the Russian government or any other foreign government for that matter.
All right, JD, what do you think of this? I mean, does Attorney General Sessions' comment saying that he doesn't recall, he doesn't remember even shutting this down, does that contradict your version of this story?
The Attorney General is exactly right. And I know because I was sitting between him and Papadopoulos. So this is all blown out of proportion by the Democrats. It's the gotcha game of the century. Why would Senator Sessions remember what somebody like Papadopoulos said when the senator had thousands of people telling him things during the campaign? We were short on sleep. There was a lot of travel involved, especially by people like Senator Sessions. Why is he going to remember anything Papadopoulos said? But the Attorney General is right. He did shut him down. I remember it clear as day because I was sitting right between them.
And the Attorney General can barely even remember how to pronounce Papadopoulos' name, so I guess that does back up his story just a little bit. JD, thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate it.